MMA fighter Raja Jackson is reportedly being investigated by the LAPD after appearing to beat his opponent unconscious during a live-streamed wrestling match. Video shows
no one expected the biggest story in wrestling this week to come from a small training facility in Sun Valley, California. But in a matter of seconds, a routine live-streamed show at Knox Pro Wrestling Academy turned into one of the most shocking viral clips of the year. It started with what fans thought was just another indie wrestling segment. Raja Jackson, son of UFC legend Quinton Rampage Jackson, entered the ring. Across from him, Stuart "Psycho Stu" Smith, a veteran of the independent scene. What happened next wasn't scripted, wasn't planned, and had everyone in the building frozen. Raja slammed Stu hard to the mat, then kept going. Dozens of punches, even as Stu appeared motionless. The audience screamed for someone to stop it. Wrestlers jumped into the ring. Within minutes, the video was everywhere: Twitter, YouTube, MMA forums, drawing millions of views and one big question. Was this an accident, a heat-of-the-moment mistake, or a criminal act? The LAPD is now investigating what could be FB. The wrestling world is demanding answers, and Raja's own father has spoken out publicly. Tonight, we break down exactly what happened, what witnesses saw, and what this means for Raja Jackson, Psycho Stu, and independent wrestling moving forward. The date was August 9th, 2025, at the Knox Pro Wrestling Academy in Sun Valley, Los Angeles. It was supposed to be a standard training event, part of a weekly series streamed online for wrestling fans. On the card that night, Raja Jackson, the 20-year-old son of former UFC champion Quinton Rampage Jackson, facing Stuart "Psycho Stu" Smith, a longtime independent wrestling performer. According to multiple eyewitnesses and video from the livestream, things turned real the moment Raja lifted Stu into the air for a body slam. Wrestlers are trained to protect each other during moves like this, but Raja slammed Stu directly on the mat with full force. Viewers noticed Stu wasn't moving after the impact, yet Raja followed up with more than 20 punches while the crowd and wrestlers at ringside screamed for him to stop. Security and other wrestlers rushed the ring, pulling Raja away as Stu lay motionless. Paramedics were called immediately, and Stu was taken to a local hospital. Early reports from family confirmed he was in critical but stable condition, later upgraded to serious but improving after surgery for head and neck injuries. The entire incident was broadcast live on Knox's official stream before being clipped and shared on social media, where it went viral within hours. What was meant to be another night of independent wrestling quickly turned into a police matter drawing national attention.
Continue beating up Stu,
I think he would have killed him.
if you didn't stop it, right?
I promise you he would have killed him. He would have killed me if he would have got the best of me. If he would have took my legs out from under me like he was trying to, he was going to do the same thing to me that he did to Stu.
The first person to physically stop Raja Jackson was fellow wrestler Doug "The Epic" Malo, who had been ringside when the attack started. In interviews after the incident, Doug said it was clear something had gone wrong almost immediately. He described seeing Stu go limp after the slam and realizing the punches weren't part of the show. Doug's exact words to local reporters were, "If I hadn't stepped in, I don't think he would have stopped. He could have killed him." That comment spread as quickly as the fight footage itself, fueling debates about Raja's intent and mental state during the attack. Other wrestlers who were in the ring that night echoed Doug's concerns. Some claimed Raja seemed out of control and didn't respond to the usual signals performers use when things get too real in wrestling. A few even suggested there had been backstage tension earlier in the evening, though no one confirmed whether that played a direct role in what happened. One anonymous performer told wrestling news site Bodyslam.net that management initially asked talent to avoid public comments until more facts were known. That fueled online speculation about a cover-up, though Knox Pro Wrestling later denied any attempt to silence its performers. By the following day, multiple independent wrestling figures had posted on social media demanding accountability, not only from Raja, but also from event organizers for allowing the situation to escalate before help arrived. Within minutes of the attack, someone at the venue called 911, reporting an A in progress. By the time LAPD officers arrived, paramedics were already rushing Psycho Stu to the hospital, and Raja Jackson had reportedly left the building with friends and family. Initially, several social media posts claimed Raja had been arrested on the spot. However, the LAPD later confirmed to local media that no arrest was made that night. Instead, detectives from the North Hollywood Division opened an investigation into what they classified as a potential FB case, given the video evidence and the extent of the victim's injuries.
Fighter Raja Jackson is reportedly being investigated by the LAPD after appearing to beat his opponent unconscious during a live-streamed wrestling match. Video shows Jackson being accosted by other fighters during the event at Knox.
Under California law, FB typically involves serious bodily injury inflicted during an unlawful use of force. If charges are eventually filed and Raja is convicted, possible penalties could range from probation to multiple years in state prison. But as of mid-August 2024, no official charges had been announced, and police said they were still reviewing footage and interviewing witnesses. LAPD spokespersons also confirmed they had contacted Raja and his legal representatives, indicating he was cooperating with the investigation. Legal experts speaking to outlets like KTLA and MMA Fighting noted that prosecutors often wait for medical reports in cases like this to determine whether charges should be filed as misdemeanors or felonies. Meanwhile, online debate exploded over whether Raja's intent mattered legally. Some argued it looked like a deliberate A, while others suggested he lost control in the heat of the moment. Either way, the legal system was moving carefully, knowing the entire wrestling and MMA community was watching. As the backlash intensified, all eyes turned to Quinton Rampage Jackson, the former UFC light heavyweight champion and father of Raja Jackson. Within 48 hours of the incident, Rampage released a statement through social media and later addressed the situation in a short live stream. He began by expressing concern for Siko Stu's health, saying his thoughts and prayers were with the injured wrestler and his family. He clarified that he did not condone his son's actions under any circumstances and that the V seen on camera was unacceptable and heartbreaking to watch as a parent.
Jackson is speaking out after a wild scene went down involving his son Raja, who beat up a wrestler named Stuart Smith, also known as Psycho Stu, during a live kick event. The whole thing looked brutal and had people wondering if it was real or staged. Turns out, it was supposed to be part of the show, but it went left fast. Rampage posted on X to clear everything up. He said Raja had been unexpectedly hit in the side of the head before the match even started, and was told he could get his payback in the ring.
Rampage also shared details about Raja's condition leading up to the event. He revealed Raja had recently suffered a concussion during training and was supposed to take time off from performing. Rampage described the incident as a work gone wrong, suggesting his son may have been disoriented or unfit to perform that night, but stopped short of offering it as an excuse. Importantly, Rampage confirmed his son was cooperating with LAPD investigators and that the family would respect the legal process as it moved forward. He closed by thanking fans for supporting both families involved and asking the public not to rush to judgment until all facts were known.
You know, if this was anybody other than Rampage Jackson's son, I don't think there'd be any empathy here at all. But we all love Rampage and he's the man, you know, and the fact that he's his son, we're all sitting here like, bro, what the fuck, you know, and what do we think about this? You know, if it was just anybody else in the world, it'd be like, bro, throw that motherfucker, you know, in the cage and throw the key away, man.
As the video spread across sports media, reactions poured in from MMA fighters, wrestlers, and industry insiders, and few minced words. UFC veteran Matt Brown was one of the first to speak out publicly. On his The Immortal podcast, Brown called the footage disturbing and said it was a F for sure, adding that Raja should face serious consequences if investigators found intent behind the attack. But opinions weren't unanimous. UFC middleweight contender Sean Strickland argued on his Instagram stories that sending Raja directly to prison wouldn't solve the problem. He suggested rehabilitation and mental health evaluation might be more appropriate than immediate incarceration, especially if medical reports confirmed Raja had a concussion before the incident. Meanwhile, independent wrestling podcasts debated whether Knox Pro Wrestling bore responsibility for letting an injured, inexperienced performer work that night. Some shows questioned the event's safety protocols, noting the lack of on-site medical staff before paramedics arrived. Wrestling forums like Squared Circle on Reddit saw hundreds of posts within hours, many demanding lifetime bans for Raja from independent promotions if the investigation confirmed wrongdoing. Others defended him, arguing wrestling's scripted nature sometimes blurs lines between performance and reality, though most agreed this crossed far beyond entertainment. By the week's end, the story had grown beyond a wrestling niche, with mainstream sports outlets covering both the attack and the divided response from the combat sports world.
Jackson's fault, 100%. The fault and the blame lies 100% with this man. I feel sorry for Rampage, who seems like a really good guy. You know, talking about his son had a concussion. We can talk about that in a minute. And, you know,
As the investigation continued and public debate grew louder, sports law experts began weighing in on what this incident could mean legally and professionally. Attorneys specializing in athlete conduct cases told outlets like Sports Illustrated and The Athletic that prosecutors will be looking at three main factors: the extent of Sekou Stu's injuries, the question of intent, and whether event organizers share any liability for what happened. One attorney noted that in California, prosecutors often rely on medical reports to decide whether to pursue FB charges. If the victim suffers long-term disability or permanent injury, the likelihood of F prosecution increases dramatically. In contrast, if recovery is quick and medical evidence shows no lasting harm, charges could remain at the misdemeanor level or even result in civil litigation instead of criminal court. In December 2018, former MMA competitor Ralph Gracie, part of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu family, was found guilty of FA after elbowing Flavio Almeida, a five-time BJJ world champion, and then continuing to kick him even after he was unconscious. Almeida suffered serious injuries, including a concussion and broken teeth. Gracie fled the scene, avoided legal proceedings, and was eventually sentenced to 180 days in jail, 3 years probation, a $50,000 fine, and anger management classes, though he served just 3 months in custody. The IBJJF, International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, then issued Gracie a lifetime ban from competing or coaching.
Silence for the first time.
I didn't expect him that he would do something like that. I was naive.
Five-time Jiu-Jitsu world champion.
Medical professionals also joined the conversation, especially after Rampage Jackson revealed that Raja had suffered a concussion prior to the event. Neurologists interviewed by KTLA and CBS Los Angeles explained that head trauma can sometimes lead to impaired judgment, mood swings, and impulse control issues, symptoms known collectively as post-concussion syndrome. However, doctors were careful to stress that while concussions can affect behavior, they rarely justify violent outbursts without other contributing factors. More importantly, they raised concerns about Knockout's pro wrestling safety protocols, questioning why a performer with a recent head injury was cleared to participate at all. In regulated combat sports like boxing or MMA, fighters must undergo medical screenings and secure licenses from state athletic commissions before competing. Independent wrestling, by contrast, operates with far fewer restrictions. This gap in oversight drew criticism from both legal and medical experts. Some argued that independent wrestling promotions should be required to meet minimum medical and safety standards, especially for performers with known injuries or limited experience. Suggestions included mandatory ringside medics, concussion baseline testing, and state-level licensing similar to MMA and boxing. Meanwhile, former fighters and wrestling trainers debated the moral and legal responsibilities involved. On one popular combat sports podcast, a retired MMA fighter argued that Raja's actions looked like a young guy losing control, not a premeditated attack, while a veteran wrestling promoter countered that intent doesn't erase consequences when another performer ends up in the hospital. Athletic Commission representatives interviewed by Fightful pointed out that if this had been a sanctioned combat sports event, investigators would also review whether the referee or event officials failed to stop the altercation quickly enough. While wrestling is scripted entertainment, real-life injuries raise the question of whether independent shows need clearer emergency response rules when things go wrong. Finally, legal analysts emphasize the potential for civil lawsuits. If Sekou Stu faces long-term medical costs or career-ending injuries, his family could pursue damages not only from Raja Jackson, but also from Knox Pro Wrestling for alleged negligence in event planning, medical preparedness, or performer safety. Most experts agreed on one point. This incident exposed serious gaps in how independent wrestling events handle performer health, safety regulations, and liability. Whether or not F charges are filed, the case may push smaller promotions to adopt stricter standards or face legal and financial consequences in the future.
California's Knox Pro have removed their WWE ID affiliation from their social media branding and headers as of this afternoon, which would have been yesterday afternoon. It would appear WWE severed ties with the promotion and academy completely. They just in the fallout of the incident.
As the investigation gained attention, wrestling fans noticed a quiet but telling change online. WWE branding, which had previously appeared on some Knox Pro Wrestling promotional materials, was suddenly removed from the Academy's social media and website. Neither WWE nor Knox Pro released an official statement linking the change to the incident. Still, wrestling reporters like those at Wrestling Incube speculated that WWE wanted to distance itself from any potential controversy until facts became clearer. Knox has historically operated as an independent training school with occasional ties to larger promotions, so the branding change quickly fueled online debate over whether WWE was cutting formal or informal connections. Meanwhile, some independent wrestling figures criticized Knox's safety protocols, asking why there wasn't tighter control over performers cleared to compete. They pointed out that Raja's reported concussion history should have raised red flags before he was booked for physical segments, scripted or not. By midweek, Knox issued a brief statement confirming its full cooperation with LAPD investigators and promising a comprehensive review of event safety procedures moving forward. However, they declined to comment on Raja's future with the Academy or any ties to WWE.
Stuart Smith, aka Psycho Stu, has officially broken his silence after getting knocked out cold by Raja Jackson during that wild scene at the wrestling event. He posted an update on Facebook thanking everyone for the support and confirming that he's conscious and has some memory of what went down. The post reads like it came from someone close to him, possibly family, and honestly, it's kind of heartbreaking. It says Stu is awake, resting, and aware of what happened that day. They're also planning to set up a donation link for anyone who wants to support.
As Psycho Stu remained hospitalized, fans, wrestlers, and even some MMA fighters quickly rallied to support him. Within 24 hours of the incident, friends of Stu launched a GoFundMe campaign to help cover mounting medical expenses, including surgery and rehabilitation costs. The campaign page confirmed Stu had suffered serious head and neck injuries, but was awake and communicating with family members by the second day. Wrestling news outlets like Fightful and Pro Wrestling Insider shared the fundraiser link, helping it surpass $20,000 in donations within the first week. Messages poured in across social media under hashtags like #Pray for Psycho Stu, with independent wrestlers organizing charity shows to raise additional funds. Several well-known names in wrestling and MMA publicly donated, including former UFC fighters and indie wrestling veterans. Stu's family released a short statement thanking fans for their overwhelming kindness and promising regular updates on his recovery. They stressed that while progress was slow, doctors were cautiously optimistic about long-term outcomes if rehabilitation stayed on track. As August turned into September, the legal side of this story became the central focus. LAPD detectives confirmed they were still interviewing witnesses, reviewing medical reports, and analyzing the original livestream footage to determine whether FB charges should be filed against Raja Jackson. Legal experts speaking to KTLA explained that California prosecutors often wait until the victim's full medical prognosis is clear before deciding whether to pursue misdemeanor or F charges. If charges are filed, possible outcomes range from probation and court-ordered anger management or rehabilitation programs to several years in state prison, depending on intent and medical evidence. Lawyers also raised the possibility of civil lawsuits if Psycho Stu or his family sought damages for medical bills or lost income. For Raja Jackson, the fallout extends far beyond the courtroom. Independent promotions across California have already said he will not be booked until the investigation concludes. Wrestling journalists noted that even if he avoids prison, Raja's reputation in the industry may be permanently damaged, making future opportunities in wrestling or MMA unlikely unless he pursues rehabilitation and public accountability. Finally, this incident has sparked broader conversations about safety standards in independent wrestling. Some promoters are calling for mandatory medical checks before performers enter the ring, especially for those with concussion histories or minimal in-ring experience.
On him and all his daddy issues came out and all the shit that AJ gassed up into his head, because let me put it this way, I don't like Raja. I think Raja's a shit person for what he did, but I think AJ's a bigger shit person for gassing him up to be in that fucking ring, to leading him to ruin his own fucking life, to hurt somebody that AJ also has a fucking problem with. You can't fucking tell me that's not, I don't believe in coincidence.
As Psycho Stu continues his recovery and the LAPD investigation moves forward, fans across wrestling and MMA communities are left with mixed emotions. Some want immediate justice, arguing Raja Jackson should face F charges for what happened in the ring. Others believe rehabilitation and mental health support should come before prison time, especially after reports of Raja's concussion history surfaced. Psycho Stu's family has kept the public updated, thanking fans for their donations and messages, while emphasizing that his long-term health remains the priority. Independent wrestling promotions have announced upcoming charity events to support medical bills and raise awareness about safety reforms in the industry. For now, Raja Jackson's future in wrestling and possibly his freedom hangs on what investigators, prosecutors, and doctors conclude in the coming weeks. As always, we'll keep following this story. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think should happen next? Justice, second chances, or something in between?